What if, just suppose, what if the current pandemic is a once in a lifetime accelerator? In other words, it could propel many businesses to move forward faster like no other period in terms of the history of commerce. One such a holder of that view is joining us today from Ottawa. Jason Tasse is with Lee Valley Tools. Jason has a senior executive role and he's very much involved in the leadership of Lee Valley. And you were telling me, Jason, that in your view, there is a moment here with all sensitivities to the pandemic, but there is a moment where you are seeing yourself, where your team is getting more things done faster. So love to hear your thoughts on that.
Thanks. The reality when we get into a situation where you have disruption of any sort is that you can look at it as if it's throwing up barriers. But what it does is it challenges the normal state. And what comes with the normal state is all your preconceptions and basically a lot of the models that you've built your business around. But if you can manage a frame of mind or change perception within your leadership team, and you can say, yes, of course, look, we've got barriers, we have challenges, there are risks, and it would be prudent for us to assess the risks. But then what we should also look at is the opportunity. Because when the normal state is removed, seams of opportunity are going to shake out of it. It's almost like a metaphorical slingshot. You know, initially you have to pull back from what's going on in the market and assess where your risks are to your brand, to your company. And that's the smart thing to do. Then you assess. But then you look where the conditions have changed. You look at how consumer and social expectations are now uncertain. And what it does is it opens up potential channels to accelerate some of the things that you mean to do and some of the things that you just weren't sure that you needed to do. And we have 3 or 4 examples at Lee Valley that we can get into where that condition has allowed us to do exactly that.
Well, yeah, and I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm going, wait a second, I get it, the metaphorical slingshot. So I'm curious, what have you guys done at Lee Valley specifically that, for instance, customers would notice where you guys pulled the slingshot back and let it go?
So one of the examples is we've just recently gone through, up until probably 3 months ago, was one of the most painful projects in Lee Valley's history, 40 plus year history, which was the implementation of a new website. 4.5 years of, speccing it out, working with partners, trying to get to a launch date. And we finally launched in October. And there's 2 distinct opportunities that I'm referring to. One is just the natural tendency. There's something called the adoption curve, right? For 20 plus years, we had the exact same website and our 1 million customers, right, were used to it, comfortable with it. It had become habit. And it's just human nature. If you change anything, there's gonna be discomfort. But now you have this once in a lifetime opportunity, this accelerator. People are now staying at home to be safe, looking for some form of engagement and entertainment. All of the normalcy is gone. Now you can release and get people to drive through that adoption curve. Really, it had nothing to do with us other than the fact that, we launched in October. Now this particular condition allows your customers to fly through an adoption curve, not focus on the pain and discomfort of what's new, but it gives them a form of entertainment and engagement. Very, very, very different for us. The other that I would raise is Lee Valley is going through succession turnover right now. And we have quite a few new leaders within the organization. Typically, it takes years and years for new leaders to really latch on and become emotionally connected to the brand that they're working in. You cultivate that through relationships, accomplishments, successes, failures. Well, manage a once-in-a-lifetime crisis together. All of that is accelerated. The bonds that bring people together, the hours that you work, the common goal to help this brand to succeed and to get your team through it really accelerates the rate at which the team comes together. So there's two examples in the last few months that we've really seen come through at Lee Valley.
You know, I love the story of Lee Valley, not the least of which are the very humble origins, which we'll speak to a little later. Like, you guys are the little business that became wildly popular, very, very successful, but never lost sight of its roots, which is very much, how do I say this, as a non-mechanical person, you're like Picasso with a piece of wood type thing, and that's who you're appealing to. And I love this photograph, and I don't know if people can see it, but it's the arm with the tattoo, the grizzled veteran helping the younger person. What I'm thinking out, and I'm just thinking through this out loud, Jason, is that I can foresee, and maybe you can too, there's going to be a renewed love, because we're such a heavy digital environment. There's going to be a new renewed spirit, if you will, for making things again with our hands and creating art with our hands. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. The challenge in an intensifying digital world is that we're wired to create, and we're wired for analog engagement. And there's just fewer opportunities for that in today's world. Now, when you look at, the last couple of months, people are staying at home to be safe, and they're looking for some type of activity. We have seen a large resurgence in puzzles, working with your hands, gardening, propagation, starting container gardening at home, craft, hobby, leather work. So all of a sudden, when you have time on your hands and you don't have all the pressures of today's digital world, there's this interest, there's this innate desire, as our CEO, Robin, would put, for people to create. And this opportunity is really bringing people's attention around to that.
Yeah, and I'm going to make that giant leap that Lee Valley, like a lot of retailers, has gone out of its way to have, curbside delivery and drop off. And tell us a little bit about some of the social distancing and some of the different little twists that you're doing to make everything flow in a way that you could never have imagined way back in the second week of March.
Well, we were, a part of business is also luck. And sometimes it's, bringing your team's perception around is based on building off of some of the things that you're lucky with. And Lee Valley had always had what was referred to as express pickup or click and collect. So we had created this secondary channel in our stores where people could order online and come pick it up. We've been doing it for a couple of decades. So the nice thing is we had the infrastructure in place. When the showrooms closed out of safety, we were able to deliver this curbside pickup. The innovation was we maintained our express pickup, but it was our staff that came up with the ideas of a drive-through service where cars would literally just drive up like you would at a Tim Hortons here in Canada or a Dunkin' Donuts in the US. And literally we would come out to the car contactless, get their order, put it in their trunk, close it, and send it on their way. So we were able to build off of an existing foundation, allow staff to innovate, and then create a very efficient and what was actually an enjoyable experience for people, because they're so anxious going to get the few things that they needed to get. This was easy and seamless. That's one example. The other, with respect to our new website platform, is we were starting to create more content, more projects, things that people could do at home, as opposed to, the hard sell of products. It was really about sharing technical expertise and giving forms of entertainment to people that was not only relevant, but was appropriate for them. So there's two examples of where we've shifted very quickly. We've done so many different things with respect to our programming and systems. We now ship orders from all of our 20 stores as opposed from one fulfillment center, leveraging the store footprint in Canada. We've accomplished more in the last 2 months than we probably have in the last 2 years.
That's what I find so interesting. And the more business leaders we speak with in this forum, Jason, are finding ways to accelerate. And I can't help but think that your focus on acceleration might come from your love of lacrosse. I know you're a veteran lacrosse player, you're an enthusiast, you're very involved, but are there lessons from lacrosse that other business leaders would find helpful right now?
I'm laughing. I don't know where you dug that picture up. That's a good one. That was one of my last years. Um,
Well, I did mention these are unedited, unscripted
yeah,
conversations,
that's
so
great.
you had to be prepared for a little bit of a curveball. But
That's
I'm
okay.
thinking a lacrosse guy's good with that.
Yeah. So I think that the wiring that I've been conditioned to is there's always a way. You know, no matter how big the opponent, no matter what the condition, there's always a way. So instead of focusing on a barrier in front of you, you focus on how to get around or over that barrier. And I believe that's where the athletic background or the sport background has taught you is you're always going to face an opponent, bigger, better, sometimes not as strong. But then there's the conditions of the environment that you have to adjust to as well, whether it's the heat, the travel, the whatever. But the reality is, at the end of the day, you're wired to want to win and to figure out the way to get there.
That's well said. And before we wrap up, Lee Valley has an iconic founder. Is there a way you could translate, Jason, what that iconic founder would be thinking right now? Because with Leonard Lee was a larger than life character. You and I talked about that on a podcast we did, but how would you assess what your iconic founder would be thinking and feeling about where Lee Valley's heading right now?
One thing about understanding Leonard Lee as our founder was this was a farmer that grew up in the Great Depression, huge believer in education and hard work. But if I could describe how he would be feeling right now, is there was a toughness to him. There was a no quit. There was this, no hurdle is going to be too big, much like a farmer would, right? And Leonard right now, as you know, the family would be very tough about the situation and say, we're going to do whatever it takes to make this work.
And that's very, very well said. And, as I reflect on what you were just talking about, Jason, are there any final words you have in terms of, for anyone watching, any business leader from any category, is there a better, bolder question that people need to be asking right now?
I believe that everything comes down to perspective. And if you're a business owner or a leader in a position of influence, it's not to have all the answers, but it's about helping manage perspective. If you can help your team, your resources, or even yourself at times look at the bigger picture or change perspective and reframe it in a way that helps you think, I can get around this, or there's always opportunity within disruption. It's that ongoing management of perspective that I believe makes all the difference.
Very, very well said. And the perspective that I think that Jason Tasse, the Chief Operating Officer at Lee Valley, has shared with us is gaining perspective, metaphorically, like the giant slingshot. Pull back, yes, but when you let her go, there is a chance for a once-in-a-lifetime accelerator. More can get done faster. There's a lot of good news. You're not going to hear this on mainstream media. The media's got its job to do. It's been doing it very well since the second week of March, which is reporting the doom and gloom, and that is their business model, to prey on the fear mongering. But that's that world. In this world, the world of business, there's never been a better time to build your business and brand, never been a better time to build it in the online world. It's the only world we got. And to Jason's point, this is an opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime accelerator that anyone can plug into to help small business move forward faster, lead better together, and emerge much stronger through these historic times.